Hey guys, welcome to the Property Panel Podcast. You got myself, Jalen Hardcastle, here today, and of course we're missing co-host Josh Story, but he'll be back next week better than ever. But today we kind of wanted to talk about what realtors really wish clients knew. I mean, have you ever just wanted to tell a client, no, we're not going to schedule 15 showings in one day, or no, I can't predict the market like a crystal ball? Well, today we're going to be pulling back the curtain. This is the stuff that us agents might whisper to each other, but today we're going to say it out loud. If you're buying, selling, or just curious about real estate, this is what we really wish you knew. But before we dive into that, we want to give a thanks to our sponsors. Obviously, thank you to Collier Title Company. They do deed prep, title work, closings, and more. They're located in Brandenburg, Louisville, and E-Town. And you can call them at 270-763-6589. And this week's ad sponsor is We Buy Houses. You can give us a call at 270-945-5416 or 270-945-7189. And we buy houses in any shape, condition, situation, it doesn't matter. Just give us a call, and we'll give you a cash price as well as list price to let you weigh your options out. And then obviously, if you or anyone you know would like to be a weekly, monthly, or yearly sponsor, you can give us a call at either of those numbers as well. It's 100 weekly, 300 monthly, and 3,000 yearly. You're advertised on our intros, outros, as well as intermissions on all social media platforms. And sign up today. Go ahead, hit that like, share, subscribe. It goes a long way for us, so we appreciate that. But yeah, let's dive into it because this is important information. So obviously, as realtors, we're always, thank you, Jamie Lane. But as realtors, we're always, preaching different things to buyer clients, and especially they, think they know everything. So this is maybe more towards buyers rather than sellers, but it's going to be a good little mixture of both. But obviously, let's start with Zillow. So everyone and their brother's like, oh, I see my Zestimate, and then we're like, as realtors, we're like, oh my goodness. I mean, we seen Zillow a couple years ago. They tried to start their own real estate company, and it ended up not going hot. I'm sure that they used their algorithm that they do with the Zestimates, bought and sold homes at prices that didn't work for them, and they ended up going under. So they went back to what they do best, and is just syndicating them from different MLS platforms is basically what a Zillow is. And although I'm not going to say it's not great, Zillow is awesome, and it's a great place to see homes for sale. But you do see a lot of pending or under contract, and as a buyer, that's why you want those realtors so they can differentiate for you. And we understand that like everyone browses Zillow, but there are a lot of homes on there that are already under contract or pending, or even they say foreclosure. So it might get your hopes up when in reality, that home's not even actually for sale. But like I said, us realtors, we have access to real MLS data, and it's live time. So as soon as the property goes pending, it's posted on the MLS, and we know. So there's no discrepancy there. But I do recommend people to look at the Zillow. Just kind of refrain from looking at the Zestimate. I have noticed that they've maybe been a little more accurate this year, so that's pretty cool. But at the end of the day, I don't think that it's something that you should go to rather than speaking to a professional that uses comps to, obviously gather the best list price. And then on to the next one, obviously. Pre-approval is not optional. Okay, so a lot of people will come to us with maybe pre-qualifications, which I know we've touched based on that the pre-quals and the pre-approvals are slightly a bit different. Basically, the pre-qualification is going to be the information that you've provided to your lender, and she's based off what you told her, giving you an approval or a qualification saying, hey, if this guy checks out, this is what he'd be approved for. Whereas that pre-approval is where you're sending in, your W-2s, your pay stubs, your bank statements, your debt info, all that stuff, your credit check, everything, and they get you that official approval. So usually when you get approved, they do have that 90-day lock, so you're approved for 90 days. So it is best to find a home within that 90 days. But no, a pre-approval isn't optional, and I like to kind of use this scenario for people. Would you walk into a store without your wallet expecting to buy something? The grocery store, if you need food or something, don't come to us expecting to look at houses without money in your pocket. And that's what that approval ensures us. And I've had a lot of people actually, not appreciate that I do that. I request a approval on any showing. Sometimes I might make an exception around here for the first showing and then help them get approved. And I've noticed more people aren't as knowledgeable about the whole approval process, but it is ideal if we could let all these buyer clients know, especially, that it is important and not optional to have an approval, because essentially if you do like the home and it is worth the price, there's probably going to be multiple people looking at it. And, if you're going to be sleeping and not having that approval in hand, they're probably not even going to realistically even entertain your offer. So it is important to have that pre-approval in hand, and ensures that you're good to buy, and it ensures the right price, because you might not understand what your monthly payment might be, which could differ, or your down payment even. So, you always want to look into talking with the lender before you even get started looking at homes, which there's some controversy, like I said, when you call, but that's the perks of having a good agent. They're too busy to be messing around with people that aren't approved, and you are wasting people's time, because if you want an offer on a nice house, you're gonna have to get it in immediately, and you need that pre-approval in hand. And another big one. Hold on, sorry, need some water. But I think another big one is too that so this is where we get into the sellers a little bit. We don't set home prices. The market does. Obviously, I can't just list anyone's house for $1 million because you feel like it's worth that. Buyers decide the value based on comps, condition, and location, not just your emotional attachment. And that's what the appraisal is for. And obviously, the home should be listed accordingly. I've noticed in recent years, since the bigger boom, that we've noticed some agents listing for sometimes an astronomical amount. Sometimes they'll get those, and it blows my mind. But properties prices are still increasing, so yes, shoot high, but at the same time, it's a different market than it was 5 years ago, where you basically, for an example, you want to list under list price. Like we just did this one actually, and I got it under contract in 3 days. But this one over here off 80 Sassafras, we listed it, and he was like, "Hey, my neighbor's home just sold or went pending the same day almost for $264, and it was a mobile home, double wide." And I was like, "You're kidding me!" I was like, I've sold the two highest sale or comps double wides in the last year in this area, and I looked them up, and they was about 245, 250, and I was like, I think I can get you 250, which it's a very nice home, and it's nicer than a standard double wide. But there's been actually two other comps since that have recently closed, one for 299.9, and then one that will close for 270, which is pretty crazy. But we did get that one under contract, which is nice to say. But he told me that price, and I knew it wasn't astronomical, but at the same time, I was like, hey, it might be a little high. So I'm more of a person that wants to prepare you for the worst, but let you expect the best. So I'm going to let you know what could happen. So, we're not just riding high on the clouds and then something comes out of thin air. I want to make sure that everyone is knowledgeable about every part of the situation and what could and can't happen, just so they can prepare their best judgment and make the best with their investments. So basically, like I said, we don't personally set the home prices. That's what the appraisers do. They get comparative, values on the market around that specific area, and they come up with their best conclusion to determine the value, and that's how we get our comps, because we have access to that information. And another one, this is kind of for the sellers too, and it's funny because on the same house, it was funny. They're kids. They're cute, and I love the whole family as a whole. So I know they don't mind me talking about them. Like I said, we just got it under contract. We got their home under contract, bottom one. So we're moving and grooving with these people. I've sold them a couple houses in the past as an investor. But anyways, it was funny. I walked into this house, and I had Tyler go with me. He's our photographer or office manager, whatever. He does it all basically. But I was like, hey, Tyler, ride with me. I know, two cameras is better than one. Let's see what we can get the best picks out of. We'll come together, brainstorm, and pick the best one. So that's what we did. But we was in there taking pictures, and the kids was like, when's the open house? When's our first showing? And I was like, man, I don't do open houses. I was like, hopefully we don't have to. I mean, I anticipate these to sell. And when I list a home, I list it at, what it should be listed at. So that's why they do sell quickly. And I have in years past listed a little bit over market value what I recommended, and it's bit me in the butt. So that's why I like to tell people, especially in today's market where people want to list high, list right under market value. You're going to get those people looking in those doors and potentially create a multiple offer situation, as we did in Sassafras, which ended up going over market value like I anticipated it did. So that's pretty cool. But again, open houses don't sell homes, marketing does. And that's one good thing. And one reason why we do this podcast is, the truth is good photos, pricing strategy, like I mentioned, online presence and network exposure are way more important than any open house you can do. And especially like maybe in more, lively cities or in a different location, but we're more rural. Anyone's 5 to 10 minutes minimum out, to get to a house in Meade County, and some can even be 30, 40 minutes out the way. So open houses, I've done maybe a handful in my years, in almost a decade of real estate, and I've not had any offers from an open house, and I've only had a handful of people actually show up to all of them that I've done. And it's been likewise with the other agents that I've talked to. So, I think open houses are more of a thing of the past. And like I said, that's why we want to do this podcast and bring this information, and why we're so active on social media is because, we want a big, presence and a place to go out there and put these houses that we sell for you or for ourselves, or that we're buying. We want to make sure that you're up to date on the latest and greatest real estate information. And that kind of brings me into, this is a team effort. We're on your side, and not even just our team in our office, but also with our sellers and our buyers. We're on your side. We're on your side. If we ask you to declutter, fix things, or be a little more flexible with showings, it's because we want to win for you, and help us help you. So back to Sassafras. I know that I've, talking about this one a lot, but it's funny. This whole episode I'm talking about is kind of, little points. And I know, like I said, they're a great family, great friends. So I know they won't kind of mind me talking about it, but, they work from home and they homeschool as well. So that might be a little more information than I should have gave. But at the end of the day, we're not naming no names. But I asked them to be a little more flexible because there were a few showings that popped up that we had to reschedule, and just little things like that. They add up, and they might put a distaste in the buyer's, mouth or, whatever, and it might kind of turn them off from the property. And who's to say, if, it's your house, you can do what you want with it, yes. But at the end of the day, that's what we're here for, is for you to win. So if we do ask you politely to, declutter or move some things, and I have to do that sometimes, especially when I'm taking pictures, can I stuff this in the pantry? Can I stuff this in the closet? These towels are hanging out. Let me put this down, or can we change a little bit of feng shui in this room because it'll look a little better for pictures. So it's a team effort. I'm just here to bring you the information that helps homes sell, and that's what I think I do best. And some people might kind of think that it's a little blunt that I come off sometimes, but in all honesty, I just want to win just like you do, and I want to win for you. So yeah, that's basically what that is. It's a team effort, and as long as we're all working together in strides, things happen like on that, and we get over market value. I mean, we came together, and he brainstormed with me, thought, put his personal opinions out there, I put my professional opinions out there, and we came together and made something that worked for the best of us. So ideally she would have been out, or they would have been out for the showings wholeheartedly, every time, but at the end of the day, they got to make money so they can afford their next purchase. So I and it's their home, so they can do what they want, and we ended up selling it regardless. So we can work around that. So don't let that discourage you, but remember, again, it is a team effort. And that also brings us to communication is key. And trust us, we're even working, we're quiet. So I know that I always say communication is key, but there are days, and especially with, I think, buyers and sellers alike, where we might go days or maybe even max a week without talking to you within one part of the process, especially on like a FHA or VA deal, when it's kind of after inspections and waiting for appraisal, in limbo, when the buyers or sellers are getting all their information to the title companies and all that good stuff. There might be a few days that we don't communicate with you, but communication is key. And not saying that I do that. I mean, I might go a couple of days without texting a client, but if we're doing a deal, I'm staying on top of things. So I'm always checking in, asking questions, seeing which way I can progress us to the closing table quicker, because that is always my goal. But yeah, communication is key, and like I said, we're always grinding, so don't think we're not. And then I kind of already touched base. I was going to go over a few like confessions on each topic about what we talked about. Like I said, it's kind of crazy. One of the houses I sold this week, kind of fit into every category that we could discuss in different ways. Even like I said, from the Zillow, don't trust the Zestimate. Always get your pre-approval. The prices aren't determined by us. It's determined by the market and what homes sell for. Open houses don't sell homes. That's probably the biggest one. I'm not doing an open house. This is a team effort. Everyone from you to me to us, the other companies, we all got to work, interchanging parts, inspectors, appraisers, engineers, all of them, contractors. It's got to be big, and communication is key. Even like with our buyers and sellers, or even with our contractors and stuff. You keep us up to date, and we're going to be pretty happy. But real estate is an emotional, personal, and complicated experience. But the best relationships, just like the best deals, are built on trust, communication, and mutual respect. If you're thinking about buying or selling, talk to your agent, which should be us. Stay honest, and remember, we're here to guide you, not just to sell you. And if you're a buyer, seller, even follow an agent, what's your I wish they knew moment? DM us or drop us a comment. Follow for more behind the scenes real estate truths. But before we tune off, I want to give a thanks to you guys for tuning in. Go ahead, hit the like, share, subscribe, and let's give a thanks to our sponsors. We want to give a thanks to Collier Title Company. They do deed prep, title work, closings, and more. You can call them at 270-763-6589. And for this week's episode, we buy houses. 270-945-5416 or 270-945-7189. Thank you and have a great night.